Hello and welcome to yet another edition of the program Business Time. This is a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. And coming up in the program today, hopes high for stability in energy supply as the government re-engages independent power producers. We have a report. And also in the program, the Malawi Innovation Challenge Fund has since opened a new window for funding targeting tourism industry. We have these and other stories. Stay tuned if you could. Hello and welcome. In our main story in the program, for quite some time now, Malawi has been grappling with power wars, a situation that has affected productivity and economic growth prospects. Of course, the main reason is that Malawi heavily relies on hydro as the major source of energy. Now, there is hope that this would be the case of the past once the Mpatamanga hydro power plant is completed in 2022. Our journalist Chimwemwe Mangazi has the whole story in this report.
Representatives of Egenco have said construction of the $1 billion 350 megawatt hydroelectricity power plant at Mpatamanga Gorge in Blantyre is expected to commence in the first quarter of 2022 once private financiers of the project have been identified. This follows a visit by members of a cluster committee consisting the Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture and on Natural Resources to the site to appreciate how the environment will be conserved when the project commences. Briefing the committee members, Egenco Chief Executive Officer William Lyabunya said currently they are in the process of identifying financiers for the project.
This project is the Mpatamanga Hydro, and we expect to get 350 megawatts out of it, 309 from the main dam where we are standing, and there will be a regulating dam downstream with 41 megawatts. And we expect that this power from here will be evacuated to the Pambeya substation, and we believe that when the project comes to pass, we will mostly double the capacity that we have in Malawi on our power generation. We are currently discussing with the World Bank and the FC because it will be a PPP arrangement. At the moment, we are procuring the strategic partner, the person that should bring the private partnership, private financing to the project. Our financing as Malawi government will come from IDA of the World Bank, and then we'll get 30% from the project. We will also have IFC getting about 15%, and the rest will be from the strategic partner.
Chairperson of the cluster committee, Werani Chirenga, said they were impressed with the project in general, but expressed reservations towards over-reliance of the Shire River for hydroelectricity generation.
As a cluster, we are convinced that this is indeed a very good project, and it is going to produce 350 megawatts, which will reduce the power blackouts that we have been having as a country.
The country continues to grapple with power challenges which have affected the growth of the manufacturing industry, thereby impacting on the growth of the economy as a whole.
Meanwhile, Minister of Energy Newton Gambala says some independent power producers risk their licenses revoked if they don't commence their projects within the next 2 months. He spoke with our journalist Justin Mkweo.
Actually, we have about 7 IPPs who have not done anything. They have not shown any progress, and we have already sounded a warning to them that if they don't do something about it within the next probably 2 months from now. At the time I sounded the warning was about 2 months, where I gave them 4 months. If nothing is done, we'll have to review the PPAs and look at how we can bring in some serious investors, because Malawians cannot keep waiting. Currently it's only Agreco and Mlange Hydro that have shown enough progress. And unfortunately, Aggreko, as you know, is very expensive for the economy. Of course, we cannot afford to lose them because it's either we have got expensive power and like having nothing. So that's the reason why we want the other IPPs to start showing progress to make sure that Malawians can get affordable source of energy. Currently, I know a lot of people in Malawi would want to see an increase in tariff. I'm talking about the people who are actually generating the power. But as an engineer, I would want to see that Malawians access cheaper energy sources, and we'll have to make sure that we work towards making sure that the tariffs are brought down and increasing them. I can give you examples of economies where a tariff is actually less than 5 cents, while in Malawi we are paying 12 to 13 cents per kilowatt hour. China is doing less than 5 cents per kilowatt hour, and India is also doing the same. I'm very sure we can do the same in Malawi. As an engineer, I'll make sure that as long as the Minister of Energy, we have to move towards reducing the cost of energy in Malawi.
Now, COVID-19 has affected most sectors of the economy. The tourism and hospitality sector is one of the hardest hit. Realizing the impact the pandemic has brought about on the sector, the Malawi Innovation Challenge Fund on Monday opened a new funding window valued at about $1 million targeting players in the tourism and hospitality sector. Naveen Kamar is fund manager and explains the rationale behind the introduction of the new window.
So the MICF is what the Malawi Innovation Challenge Fund is what we call an enterprise challenge fund that was set up by UNDP in 2014. So over the last 6 years, MICF has launched roughly 9 windows, and the tourism sector recovery window, which we are launching today, is the 10th window of the MICF. Specifically, in 2020, the MICF actually launched 3 windows. We had in July the economic resilience and recovery window. We had the financial outreach window, and thirdly, here we are with the tourism sector recovery window. This window particularly is looking at operators within the tourism sector and trying to support them to come out with innovative business ideas which will allow them to tide the challenges that they are being faced by the COVID pandemic. Now, in this instance, what we are trying to do is to encourage companies to come forward and look at diversifying their current product offering, probably looking at specific or emphasizing on ecotourism, looking at integrating probably wildlife with the lake, looking at what is possible to incorporate digitization so that the human interface can be slightly reduced and improve their efficiency. These are some of the core areas that we are expecting to come out from this particular window. You would also ask, what is it in it for us? The thing is, the impact that the social impact that comes out of it is what the return that we are looking at. Now, for example, these companies we would anticipate to be creating jobs, to be retaining jobs. In many instances, most of these ecotourism institutions work with communities within their area of operation. It is strengthening of these supply chains and these value chains that we are looking at currently. So that is exactly what I was mentioning earlier. In a normal enabling environment where things are going on normally, a 50-50 grant is the minimum that we would expect. But in this instance, when we are going through this particular pandemic, it might be very difficult for companies to put forward this 50% matching grant that we normally request for other windows. So in this instance, what has happened is the UNDP has decided that the matching contribution of the company is only 30%, whereas MICF would put 70%. So there is a contribution that the company has to put in. Otherwise, there is no skin in the game. It will be like a donor-funded project. Now, there is support from UNDP, but the company also has to have skin in the game so that they own the project. Because once the project implementation timeline is completed and UNDP withdraws, we expect the project to be commercially sustainable. And that is what is expected to deliver the social impact over the long term.
Remember, this is Business Time, a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines. When we get back, debate rages on the proposal to introduce VAT on cooking oil. That's when we get back right here on Business Time. Welcome back. For many years now, Malawi has remained a predominantly importing and consuming nation, despite ambitions by political figures and businesses to ensure that Malawi migrates to become one of the key exporters to regional and international markets. The trade gap, the balance between imports and exports, have remained so wide in favor of imports, despite the numerous blueprints to ensure that the country moves and becomes a reliable and sustainable economy. Now, there is hope that things might change following the introduction of about 7 projects valued at about 140 billion kwacha under the Export Development Fund. What's the rationale behind the introduction of the projects, and who are they targeting? These are some of the questions our journalist Justin Mkeu attempts in this report.
The projects are the Project Preparation Facility, PPF, COVID-19 Trade Mitigation Facility, COTIFA, Contract Farming and Export Agriculture Facility, CONFAM, Construction and Export Manufacturing Guarantee and Refinancing Facility, CONEM, Hotel Construction Guarantee and Refinancing Facility, Export Parking Credit Facility, and Venture Capital Facility, VCF. Speaking during the launch on Friday night, Minister of Trade Sosten Gwengwe said financing has been the main challenge in the country's quest for industrialization. Gwengwe said the projects have come in to minimize the challenge.
Financing has been the key challenge in us really going a long way towards industrialization. And of particular interest to all of us is the facility that EDF has brought in, which is the Project Preparation Facility, which most of the commercial banks will not be willing to lend people to do feasibility studies and make their projects bankable. So if our private sector can access funds which will prepare their concepts into something which is bankable, then you would know that the commercial banks can now jump in secondary financing now for the actual rolling out. So you would see that what we've really done today is solving a lot of financial and structural challenges that the country has been having to go on and have meaningful industrialization going forward. EDF has dangled 140 billion Malawi kwacha to about 7-8 partners, but you've also seen that apart from the money itself, there are also a lot of guarantees. You know, there are other banks like the Afrexim Bank, the Africa Development Bank, and maybe the China, India Import-Export banks. They are all in link with EDF, and they can help our investors and developers in this country to also access finances outside Malawi by giving these guarantees. So you're looking at EDF coming in, providing guarantees, but also the actual money to our investors. And I think this will really spur a lot of our investors and private sector to go on into serious manufacturing, serious hotel construction, serious tourism, serious mining, because the financing challenge has been partly solved by the initiatives from the EDF and the Reserve Bank of Malawi.
RBM Governor Wilson Banda admitted that the country's export base is very shallow and narrow, heavily dependent on tobacco, tea and sugar. He expressed optimism that the projects will improve the situation.
We decided to invest in EDF because we wanted to address structural issues. You know, the export base of the country is very shallow, very narrow, heavily dependent on tobacco, tea and sugar. We wanted to go into export diversification, and the country was not really moving very much in that direction. So we embarked on EDF to help the country to diversify. So EDF has gone into that diversification drive, and also import substitution. So the 7 products or the 7 contracts that have been signed tonight are a milestone. It's something that we have really been looking forward to, and we're hoping that there'll be more coming along.
Bankers Association of Malawi President Kwanele Ngwenya said they have received the introduction of the projects with both hands. Some of the partners in the projects are Nico Asset Managers, Old Mutual Investment Group, Press Corporation PLC, Sunbelt Tourism, Lift Valley Mining Company Limited, and Bwanje Cement Company Limited.
Now, proposals to introduce value-added tax on cooking oil has attracted mixed reactions. Others feel this would be detrimental to the industry, while others feel this is the best way of ensuring that we blossom the tax base in the country. Our journalist Chimwemwe Mangazi has the whole story in this report.
A snap survey by Times has established that on average prices of cooking oil went up in September by 52%. For example, a 2-liter bottle of cooking oil, which was selling at 1,900 kwacha, is now being sold at 2,900 kwacha. When presenting the budget in Parliament recently, Minister of Finance Felix Mlusu said to ensure efficiency in the value-added tax system, the government has introduced a standard rate of 16.5% VAT on refined cooking oil. Mlusu was quick to mention that arbitrary price increases, especially by local manufacturers, reflecting the full VAT adjustment on the refined cooking oil, is not expected. In a recent interview, Consumers Association of Malawi Executive Director John Capito said introduction of the tax on cooking oil would lead to a surge in prices. But Treasury spokesperson Williams Banda says the decision was made based on suggestions from industry players.
Refined cooking oil was VAT exempt under the first schedule of the VAT Act before the introduction of this measure. In this respect, the local manufacturers were not able to claim VAT refunds on their input VAT. And all the input on VAT that was paid on inputs or raw materials with respect to production of the refined cooking oil could not be claimed and became part of the cost of production. However, with the introduction of the standard rate of 16.5% VAT on refined cooking oil, local manufacturers will now be entitled to claim input VAT.
Tax expert Emmanuel Kaluruma says the fears for increased prices of cooking oil are legit, but the move to reduce the cost of production through the regime is welcome.
Value-added tax has always been there. They have introduced tax on the value. They have introduced value-added tax on cooking oil. The idea behind it is to make it affordable.
Not increase the price.
No. The idea of government is to make it affordable. Why I'm saying so? When a bottle of oil is produced, they buy different things. The manufacturers buy different things to produce a bottle of oil. When they're buying those things, they were paying value-added tax, like packaging material, in this case bottling, or things like those. Now, that tax, because it was an exempted product, they were not allowed to claim input VAT. So this time, the business is being allowed to claim input VAT when doing their costing of the product. And what that means is that the price of cooking oil now should be reduced. The price should be reduced.
But is that realistic, considering that Malawi is a liberalized economy? Manufacturers would set up prices according to how they look at production.
It's a liberalized economy, yes, but if government has made a decision to reduce the cost of production of cooking oil, they should pass it to the consumer. The idea is that for me, perhaps who now could not have afforded buying cooking oil, I'll be one of their customers. So if they think it's an opportunity just to take advantage and make more profit in the process, they'll be killing themselves. And let me take this opportunity that Malawians now, there are deliberate efforts by government to promote locally manufactured goods. And this, if the manufacturers don't take advantage of it, they'll have a challenge because the goods from other countries will be cheaper. So much as government can cry that he support locally manufactured goods, but if the prices are expensive compared to imported goods, it's a natural thing that Malawians will opt to buy something cheaper of good quality from outside. So a Malawian manufacturer should take advantage of this fiscal decision on VAT and do proper what they call absorption costing, see what it means, and then after they do all those adjustments, they come up with their markup. They'll find that the figures now will be less when it comes to the cost of producing a bottle of cooking oil than it was before this decision on VAT.
A similar decision was rescinded by the previous government in 2017. According to Malawi Government Gazette number 25 for 2017, VAT was exempted on animal or vegetable fats and oils and their cleavage products, prepared edible fats, animal or vegetable waxes.
Well, on that note, we've also come to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time, a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe. Always remember, if it doesn't make money, then it doesn't make sense. Till next week, bye for now.